Hey everybody, it's Mina. So today I'm going to be showing you all how to make this really cute and simple peasant top. All right, so what will you need to make this peasant top? You're going to need at least 1 to 1.5 yards of fashion fabric. You're going to need about 1 to 1.5 yards of 2-inch wide elastic. You're going to need about 2 yards of elastic that is 1/4 of an inch in width. You're going to have to take a few measurements, okay? So the first measurement that I want you to take is your full bust measurement. So go ahead and grab your measuring tape, and I want you to measure around your full bust. And I want you to take that number and I want you to multiply it by 1.5. Okay? Now, how long do you want your peasant top to be? Starting at your high shoulder or your shoulder seam. And I want you to measure down your desired length. And I want you to add 3 inches to that. All right, so the next measurement that you'll need to take will be your upper arm measurement. Kind of like if you were wearing a t-shirt, wherever that short sleeve t-shirt would end, like the cap area of your arm, so the upper arm. So measure the circumference of that and go ahead and mark those measurements down. All right, so from those measurements, we're going to be cutting 4 squares. Now, the first 2 squares that I want you to cut, I want you to measure the measurement that you took for your full bust times 1.5. That's going to be your width. The length is just going to be what you measured from your high shoulder all the way down to your desired length, plus the 3 inches. So you're going to have 2 squares with those measurements. The next 2 squares that you're going to cut are going to be for your sleeves. Now, whatever the circumference was for your upper arm, that's going to be your width, and your length is going to be 10. All right, so for example, the circumference of my upper arm is 14, so I'm going to be cutting 2 sleeve patterns that measure 10 by 14. Okay, so let's go ahead and get those measurements cut out, and let's go ahead and get started with this. All right, okay, so we're going to be starting with your sleeve pattern first, your sleeve square. What we're going to be doing first is doing the hem of your sleeve first. All right, but before we do that, what I want you to do is I want you to take your elastic that is 1/4 of an inch in width, and whatever the circumference of your upper arm was, I want you to take 4 inches off of that. So for example, my upper arm measured 14 inches, so I'm going to take 4 inches off of that, and my 2 elastic pieces are going to be 10 inches. Okay, and we'll just set those aside for now. Now, the first thing that you want to do with your sleeve hem, I want you to measure up about 1 inch. Now, we're at the bottom of your sleeve, and then just place a little mark right there. All right, and from that little mark, I want you to fold up in 1 inch, and then we're just going to press it. All right, we're going to fold that back, and then from the raw edge, just fold up to the crease that you just made. And we are going to press that down. All right, and then from the folded edge, we're just going to fold it up. And then give it a final press. All right, now take this over to your sewing machine, and I want you to sew close to the folded edge. What we're doing is we're actually creating a tunnel so that we can feed our elastic through here. Okay, so take it over to your sewing machine and sew close to the folded edge. Okay, so now that you've sewn close to the folded edge, what I want you to do is take a safety pin, and I want you to attach it to one of the elastic pieces. And what I want you to do is go ahead and feed it through the little casing that you just created. Okay. Now I want you to feed it all the way through until the end of this elastic gets to the raw edge. So you're going to have to kind of go slow. All right, and you can leave probably about 1/4 of an inch out. All right, and then go over to your sewing machine and just do a straight stitch down to hold that elastic in place. All right, so since we've sewn that elastic down to hold it in place, just go ahead and cut off that 1/4 of an inch. Now I want you to continue to feed the elastic until you get to the other raw edge. And bring that out about 1/4 of an inch also. All right. And then we can actually just kind of place a pin there to hold it down. And then just go over to your sewing machine and sew that end down. And then when you're done, just clip off that extra 1/4 of an inch of elastic. Okay, so after you have added the elastic to your sleeve patterns, this is what you should have. You should have 2 sleeve patterns with elastic added to the hem of the sleeve. All right. Okay, so now what I want you to do is go ahead and grab one of your larger squares. At this point, it doesn't matter if it's your front or your back, but I want you to go ahead and grab one of those squares, and I want you to place it right sides up. The next thing that you need to do is grab one of your sleeve patterns. Remember that the end where the elastic is, that's the end of your sleeve. Okay, so I want you to take one of your sleeve patterns, and I want you to place it right sides together to your bodice, to one of your bodice pieces. So go ahead and pin. So after you pin this down, I want you to go over to your sewing machine, and I want you to sew this down using a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Okay. All right, so we have our sleeve. You have your sleeve and your bodice front pinned right sides together. Go ahead and take over to your sewing machine and start at the top and sew all the way down 5/8 of an inch. Okay, so after you've sewn your sleeve to your bodice front, what I want you to do is turn it over to the wrong side facing up, and I want you to press your seam allowances open. All right, so after you've pressed the seam allowances open, I want you to take this seam allowance and lift it up, and I want you to just cut that seam allowance open like that. Just cut it to the stitch line. Okay, so after you've pressed the seam allowances open, go ahead and cut the end of, like where the end of your sleeve is, the seam allowance here. Just go ahead and cut it to the stitch line. Okay. All right. And I want you to do the exact same thing what you did here to this. I want you to do the exact same thing to your other sleeve pattern and your bodice back. Okay. Do the exact same thing. Press the seam allowances open. We'll first attach your sleeve to your bodice back. Turn it over, wrong sides up, press your seam allowances open, then cut the seam to the stitch line. So after you've added your sleeves to both your bodice front and your bodice back, this is how your peasant top should look thus far. Okay, so now it's time to start making this peasant top look more like a peasant top and actually put it together to make it one piece. All right, so the first thing that I want you to do is grab one piece. We're going to refer to this as the bodice front, okay? So there's really no distinction between the front and the back piece, so we're just going to call this the bodice front for now. All right, and it is facing right sides up. Okay, so your other piece, you're going to be placing these pieces right sides together. All right, so take note that this is a sleeve over here, and this corner over here does not have a sleeve. So what you're going to do is take your other piece with the sleeve, and you're going to line it up to this corner that doesn't have a sleeve, and you're going to pin. Okay, I'm going to pin this down. So after this is pinned down, you're going to take it over to your sewing machine and you're going to sew it, the sleeve. You're going to connect these together. So again, I'm taking this sleeve pattern and I am lining it up with this piece that doesn't have a sleeve, and we're putting them right sides together. I want you to go ahead and pin these together. And then after these are pinned together, what I want you to do is go over to your sewing machine and sew from this corner all the way down, that 10 inches, the length of your sleeve, 10 inches. I want you to sew 5/8 of an inch on this side. Come over here and do the exact same thing. Sew down from the top 10 inches down to the end of the sleeve. Okay, so I have gone ahead and sewn the sleeve to the back bodice. Okay, so here's my sleeve sewn on. This is my side seam, just to give you a visual of everything. This is the front bodice piece and this is the back. And now the sleeve is connecting the two, the front and the back. Now, if you can remember, when we connected our sleeve the first time, we went ahead and clipped the seam to the seam line. So I want you to do the exact same thing over here. I want you to go ahead and this seam right here, I want you to go ahead and clip it to the stitch line. All right, you all see that? And then I want you to do the exact same thing to the other side. The sleeve that you just sewn onto your back bodice, you'll have to go ahead and press your seams open like what I did. And then this seam right here, go ahead and clip it to the stitch line. That's right there. All right, so what we have now is your side seam. It's open. Your side seam is open. So what I want you to do is take those two seams that have been clipped and I want you to bring them together, right sides together, and then I want you to pin from your underarm all the way down to the waist. Okay? So the reason for us doing those little clips under the arm is so that we can sew your side seam from under your arm all the way down to your waist or your desired length. And you're going to do the exact same thing to the other side. You're going to sew at a 5/8 inch seam allowance and you're going to go ahead and press those seams open. Okay? All right, so this is all pinned. I want you to do the exact same thing to the other side. Go up under your arm. Take those two clipped seams, put them together, pin them all the way down to your desired length, and then sew at a 5/8 inch seam allowance, and then press those seams open. Okay, everybody. So the next thing that we need to do is, well, first of all, this is how your peasant top should look now. You have sewn your side seams on each side, so it's looking more like a peasant top. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to create a casing all the way around the top of your peasant top so that we can put elastic in, and so that it can fit you and you can wear it around your shoulders. Now I'm going to share a little tip with you. Because our bodies are proportionate, what you can do is, if you don't feel comfortable with taking the circumference around your shoulders, go ahead and take the measurement around your full hip. Because our bodies are proportionate, the circumference around your full shoulders should equal or be very close to equal the circumference of your full hip. So if you take the circumference of your hips, for example, I am a 45, I want you to subtract 10 inches from that, and that's what you're going to cut. So for me, 45, I'm going to take away 10. That's what I'm going to cut. The 2-inch wide elastic, I'm going to cut 35 inches of the 2-inch elastic to go in here. Okay? So if you want to take the measurement around the circumference of your shoulders, by all means do it. Just go ahead and subtract 10 from that. If you take it from your hips, by all means do that. Subtract 10, and that's the measurement that you're going to feed, the amount of elastic that you're going to feed through the top of your peasant top. Okay? Okay, so let's go ahead and create the casing for your peasant top. So here's the top of your peasant top. So what I want you to do is, I want you to grab your iron, because we're going to do some pressing. I want you to fold the top of your peasant. This is the top of your peasant top. I want you to fold it down 2.5 inches. Okay, I want you to fold it down, and I'm just going to make a mark 2.5 inches all the way around, and we're going to fold it. We're going to fold it down 2.5 inches. Let me make some marks over here as my little guide. All right, so my peasant top is wrong side facing up. So I made a couple of marks on it, 2.5 inches down. Oh, and one thing that I want to say now, if you like, what you can do is go ahead and serge around your raw edges so that you don't get any fraying. All right, so at the 2.5 inch mark, we're going to fold down. And then we're just going to press that all the way around. Okay, and we're just creating another casing like we did for your for your sleeves, to put that elastic in. All right, so what I've done is 2 inches down all the way around, pressing it to create that casing that we're going to feed our elastic through. All right, so once that is done, what I want you to do is take this over to your sewing machine. You may, if you need to pin it, go ahead and pin all the way around. But I want you to start and you can start it actually at any point. Start here. I want you to sew all the way around using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then when you sew all the way around, I want you to, when you come back to where you started sewing at, leave a 1 inch opening there so that we're able to feed your elastic through there. Okay? So I'm going to go over and take this over to my sewing machine and sew this all the way around to create a casing to feed my elastic through. Okay? All right, so now that I've went ahead and created a tunnel, or a casing I should say, for my elastic to go through, and you'll see where I left a little opening at right here to feed my elastic through. What I did is go ahead and take your elastic and put a pin through it. You can use a bodkin or you can use a safety pin. And on the other end, go ahead and put a pin and just anchor it. We're gonna put it here just to anchor it so that this end doesn't go all the way through. So go ahead and take your elastic and feed it through until you come out to the other side. If I can get it through here, there we go. All right, so just take your elastic and just feed it all the way through. And when, of course, when you get to the other end over here, you are going to join the two ends of the elastic, and then you're going to sew the little opening that you left open. You're going to sew that closed. All right. So all right, so now that I fed the elastic through the casing that I created, what I'm going to do is go ahead and take my pins out. I am going to lap these two elastic pieces over one another. I'm going to do a zigzag stitch. I'm going to do that over this a few times just to reinforce it so that it doesn't pop loose or anything. Then after that, I'm going to distribute my gathers throughout my peasant top. And then I'm going to close this little opening that I left open to feed the elastic through. And that's going to be it. You're going to be finished with your peasant top. The only thing that you'll have left to do is to go ahead and hem your top. And I would just fold under about 1 inch, press. You can either use your cover stitch machine, or you can use a double needle, or you can even use a single stitch to go all the way around. And then after that, you're done. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Thanks. So you'll notice that in this peasant top, I went a step further and I created a casing in the hem of this peasant top. I thought that it would give it a little bit more of a stylish look to it. So if you want to create this look, you're going to do the exact same thing that you did to the shoulder area. You're going to create the casing, fold over 2.5 inches, insert your elastic in, sew the opening up, and you're all done.